I'm getting really worried about this new racism. It's a racism that's creeping into schools, into local government, even preached on the ABC, our national broadcaster. Last week, a youth worker from a Melbourne council, Kingston, gave a talk to students at the Parkdale Secondary College, Year 11 students. She said to them, if you're white, if you're male, if you're a Christian, stand up. Some did, and she abused them. She said they were responsible for being privileged and oppressors. That's what students told the Sunday Herald Sun. But the school principal has since confirmed this. Has admitted, yes, many Year 11 boys were asked to stand and were told they were historically the oppressors. Well, no, they weren't, because this is pure racism. Those boys aged, 16? They haven't oppressed anyone yet, except maybe their poor parents. They're being judged purely by their skin colour, by their race, as well as their gender and their faith. And they're being judged as akin to some of the worst white men that ever lived. And not to the best, of course. They're likened to white slavers, and not to Shakespeare and Mozart and Thomas Edison and Abraham Lincoln or Einstein, whatever. Now, this demonisation of whites, and white men especially, is getting right out of hand, particularly if you're seeing it now in schools. It is racist, it is destructive, and it does need now to be confronted. No more of this, if I speak up, I'll be called racist. No, you have to confront it. But I did not hear a single panellist on the ABC's Q&A last Thursday, nor the host, nor any of the audience, confront the ludicrous anti-white racism of Narelda Jacobs, the Channel 10 host who identifies as Aboriginal. She claimed, unchallenged, that Aboriginal Australia didn't know about things like sexism or discrimination or racism. Not at all. Not until wicked white men came.
When the colonisers came and invaders came along, they brought with them the patriarchy, and the symptoms of the patriarchy and colonialism is misogyny, sexism, racism, discrimination, homophobia, transphobia. None of those things existed before the colonisers came.
I can't understand why a single person in that crowd said, Narelda, you're talking utter racist rubbish. It's false, and you have to be a racist to believe it. Now, I say it's false because there are actually plenty of evidence that Aboriginal men were, for instance, so sexist, so oppressive and so violent to women that they shocked the so-called white invaders. For instance, Captain Watkin Tench, who came with the first fleet, later wrote that Aboriginal women are in all respects treated with savage barbarity by Aboriginal men. They meet in return for submission only with blows, kicks and every other mark of brutality. And there were other eyewitness accounts. Take explorer Edward Eyre. He later reported back from the inland that Aboriginal women are often sadly ill-treated by their husbands and friends. They are frequently beaten about the head with waddies in the most dreadful manner, or speared in the limbs for the most trivial offences. And paleopathologist Stephen Webb gives us reason to believe this has been going on for centuries before whites even came. In 1995, he published his analysis of bones of 4,500 Aborigines going back 50,000 years. And he found that women had much higher rates of skull fractures than men, as many as 4 times that of men in some areas. And suspected, not unreasonably, that many had in fact been bashed, presumably by men. Now, most commentators and academics don't like mentioning facts like these. It seems so mean, it seems like you're punching down, and you're just being accused of and investigated for racism. But if we keep still maintaining this discreet silence, or don't want to offend the poor Aboriginal, that's so patronising. Don't want to offend poor Aboriginal Narelda. She's a grown woman. I think she can handle some facts. And if we do keep maintaining this silence and don't confront them, the result is that you will get this other kind of racism. and anti-white racism is actually very destructive. It's the kind that suggests that Western society is oppressive, it's ugly, it's not for black people, and we have to look, all of us, instead, to some nicer, kinder, gentler tribal ways that didn't actually exist. Yes, we're told these tribal ways were actually the best. That Aboriginal society, in fact, any Indigenous society, they were Gardens of Eden compared to this white hell, when the truth is exactly the opposite.